right, it is May 23rd, 2023. I was just looking to make sure it started recording. You never know sometimes. The lights are still on, but maybe not. Maybe nobody's home. May 23rd. So it's 523. Litecoin Lisa pointed that out to me. Does it mean anything? I don't know. But I have seen that a few times in the morning, because I get up in the, I don't know, in the 5-ish time frame, and I look at the clock and I see 555. Probably nothing. Debt ceiling? Probably nothing. Are they going to let it expire? Are we going to have gamesmanship down to the, I need to open that up. Gamesmanship down to the very end, to the midnight hour, the last second. Whatever. Does it really matter when you're $30 trillion plus in the hole already if they raise the debt ceiling? I mean, you're never going to pay back $30 trillion. It's impossible, especially since you're living in a Ponzi scheme where every dollar that's created has debt interest attached to it. So where's the new money come from? You got to borrow more into existence to pay for the existing debt and interest. Well, then it just compounds. You got to keep doing it, keep doing it. You can never extinguish it because there's always interest. Unless you have a jubilee, a widespread bankruptcy, you just bankrupt the whole thing and it all goes to zero and you zero the books. It's the only way to do it. We're just not going to do it. So anyway, gamesmanship gets everybody worked up, everybody's scared. Oh, you know, and then the language that they're using on television. You can imagine Cliff High's data picking up on this stuff in the past, like, oh my God, you know, things are horrible. Well, then you watch, it's like, really, it's not that bad. It's just the language that they're using. It's catastrophic, devastating. I mean, just, it's ridiculous. I'm trying to blow this thing up into more than what it is, for whatever reason. Something big might happen, though. We'll see, for a change. The overnight, a U-Haul truck, they were coming to pick up Joe Biden's stuff at the White House, and now it was a U-Haul truck that supposedly tried to plow through the White House. I don't know what happened with it, but there's a guy in it. It didn't look like there was anything in the back of the U-Haul except a Nazi flag, which the officers who were there on scene laid it out nice and neat in front of the U-Haul on the ground so you could get a nice photo op of it. Yeah, the right-wingers are coming for Biden, and, you know, the MAGA Nazi Republicans are coming for Biden. But it's just all narrative. That whole thing, I don't know what it was, but it was very poorly engineered. Looks, it just, look, I don't know. The Nazi flag says it all. I mean, just perfectly laid out there on the pavement so they could get a nice photo op in front of the U-Haul. Whatever. In crypto news, we've got this this Dash coin thing. You know, I don't know if you're familiar with Dash. There are a lot of people that like Dash. It's fast. A lot of people could use it to pay with. It runs on a master node structure, and I looked it up. There's like 3,505 master nodes that run that code and validate transactions, and you can. It's a little bit different than a regular blockchain, to where you can have layer 2. A lot more stuff can be done through the master nodes, which is a nice concept. This chain's been running since 2000, not nonstop, I don't think, 2014. I think it was January 18th. Well, for the last over a day now, it has not confirmed a block. It's been shut down. It's frozen. So you've got a blockchain that's an OG, really, been running since, you know, 9 years ago. Over 9 years ago, and it is now frozen. Again, a little bit different than how Bitcoin, Litecoin, and DigiByte operate with the master node structure. So I don't know, man. Maybe it's not a good thing for master nodes. I mean, because again, at some level, it is kind of centralized when you've got a master node situation. They all have the same code they have to do. You know, with mining, it's a little bit different. You can choose not to take an upgrade in the mining. You say, no, I'm not going to do it. It may be the same with master nodes, but I think it's a little more centralized the way the master node structure is. But the last update was maybe by June 14th, it'll be fixed and up and running with the new code. The code was something like C19 or something. I mean, no joke. The core code, core 19 code. So I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. Dash, in case you didn't know, used to be called Dark Coin. and it was primarily for privacy transactions, to where you could hide, or mask your transactions, basically have privacy of money. And then it rebranded to Dash because it was Darkcoin was seen as more of a nefarious thing. More of a nefarious looking thing. They might be trying to do nasty things in the dark, and so they kind of rebranded to Dash, primarily based on speed, and transactions. But limited supply, around 19 million of them, and you can't move any of them. Now, you can trade some of them if they're on exchanges, but this is a good point. There is trading of Dash coin going on because the price is moving a little bit. And you think, well, how's it trading if the blockchain's shut down and you can't make transactions? Well, if some of these are held on exchanges, they can have them sitting in a frozen wallet that can't move. You're not going to be able to withdraw it, I wouldn't think. But you can still trade it back and forth on the company books, on the company ledger. So as long as they're keeping track of, we got 1 million Dash coin on this exchange, and you've got this, you've got this, you've got this, you can all trade it back and forth on the exchange. It's just you can't. It's almost like using poker chips. As long as you're on that casino and you've got so many of these poker chips, you can trade them. It's just when you go to cash out, they're like, we really can't take them out of these poker chips and put it into the real thing because we can't move the real thing because the blockchain's frozen. So, there's still some trading that's allowed to go on, but on blockchain trading, no, there hasn't been a transaction on that blockchain for over a day. Not good. Not a good thing. Be very careful where you're putting your money. I think another exchange is shut down, Hotbit, I saw yesterday. A lot of exchanges are they're just going away. And that's kind of my thinking, is that what I've always thought is they're going to centralize everything and probably have your too big to fail banks with the CBDC, the central bank digital currency. That'll be your stable coin, the only one that's authorized. And only a few banks are going to have it. Your big players, your JP Morgan, Chase, Bank of America, those guys, maybe Wells Fargo. The big banks. A few of them, they'll be centrally controlled. That's how you're going to get in and out of crypto. That'll be your exchange. That'll be your custodian. Because, speaking of custodians, well, they want to hold your crypto, essentially. They want to gateway it all. They don't want you to be free with it. And I look at some of the players in the crypto space now, and I think, they're kind of playing right into that mindset. And these are hardcore Bitcoiners, supposedly, The thing is, Bitcoin's taken a turn, or I should say the people who support Bitcoin, and that's what has influence. It's about consensus. It's about, what people give their energy to, and that's what makes the coin. But you've got people like Jack Mallers, the Strike app developer. You've got Michael Saylor. I want to talk about that a little bit. And Ledger, as far as custody, taking custody of your own coins. So let's start with Ledger. Ledger has been a hardware wallet for a long time. Ledger and Trezor have been the ones that have been around forever. Ledger has closed source, if I'm not mistaken. Trezor's open source. Ledger has closed source code, so you don't know what it is. So you got to kind of trust them. It's the hardware wallet where you're going to put all your information on it, all your coins on it, your keys on it, private keys, and you've got to trust them that they don't have some backdoor built in. Well, they just released a service to where you can, if you lose your private key, it can be backed up with this new Ledger service. And they said, oh, no, I mean, you don't have to use it. You can still use your 24 words that you write down and recover your assets, if need be. However, this other service to where it's multi-signature stuff anyway. So it allows you to, if you lose your private key, to recover it. Something bad happens, you're like, oh crap, I can't access my Bitcoin, my coins anymore. Well, they offer a service to where it will be available in case of something catastrophic. Most people like this because most people like to use the banks. Most people like to have somebody take care of their money for them. They don't want to be carrying it around. They don't want to be responsible. So they're trying to, get the masses in. I'm 100% against it. Crypto is here for a reason, to where you control your keys, you control your coins, you take personal responsibility. I don't want the bank doing it. I would rather do it, because I see what banks do. They inflate the monetary supply. They will shut your account down for any reason. And that's the point. I think it was the CEO of Ledger in an interview said that, well, if the government, were to subpoena us, or subpoena the records of a particular customer that's using this service, they'll give them over. And that's what's going to happen. A government will come into these private companies and they will demand access to it, just like Coinbase. Coinbase, take it, take all the records, take everything you need. The same thing will happen with this type of service. If a government comes in, they're going to give it up. So you are not, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. You need to have those keys, those words in your own possession. You don't want to be giving that over to anybody else. And it's just another example of why. And they're just admitting it that, hey, if a government tells us to do it, we're going to do it. Okay, that's not crypto. So speaking of not crypto, we've got Jack Mallers, who's giving an interview, little guy, Strike app guy. And he was talking about, Bitcoin is my time, and I will, time and Bitcoin are the most important things in the world. And I would never sell my Bitcoin unless it's to gain more time. So if I had like a heart attack or something and needed heart surgery, I would, now the dogs are going to bark because we have a visitor. Or the dog, I only have one today. Yeah, here we go. So you've got he wouldn't trade his Bitcoin for anything other than something that would give him more time, maybe a major surgery, something like this. Otherwise, he'd hoard it. Wouldn't use it. Lock it up. Okay, well, that's not peer-to-peer electronic currency. That's not using things on a daily basis, helping people who are unbanked. That's not giving anyone freedom. But anyway, to each his own. And then you got Michael Saylor saying that, oh, well, what's wrong with the transactions of Bitcoin going up? Think if you've got $10 million and you put it in, see, that's the first premise that's wrong, because who's got $10 million? Bitcoin is becoming the coin of the elitists, and I'll tell you why. Michael Saylor says, $10 million, you got $10 million, what are you going to buy? You're going to buy a condo in New York where you've got all the, you got fees to pay for it. He says you're lucky if you can get a 4% rate, so there's a fee for that. You're paying $400,000 to the real estate agent, and transaction fees to acquire that property or move that property anytime you want to buy or sell it. Okay, got it. He says you're going to buy a piece of art. It's going to cost you $100,000, in commission just to be able to auction it off. Or maybe you said $1 million. Yeah, probably 10%. Whatever it is, some exorbitant fee to move it. And then Bitcoin, so why not Bitcoin? If Bitcoin's $10 million, what's wrong with a $500,000 fee to move it? You do that with any other asset that's high value. That's what he said. Okay, that's not how the little people think. Think about it, let's say you invested in Bitcoin early and then it goes to $10 million and then you want to buy something for $1 million. I mean, you're going to get eaten up in fees every time. If it's a $500,000 fee, there's half your money in that $1 million transaction. Because it doesn't matter how much you send, it's the transaction fee that costs, And so are you going to get to a situation where Bitcoin doesn't move at all and it just sits there? It doesn't make a lot of sense. That's definitely not money for the people. That definitely doesn't help people who are trying to escape a vampire casino. Essentially, it kind of puts you right back in the vampire casino in my mind. So I'm definitely not a proponent of that, but you've got a big contingent of people that follow these people that say that, yeah, Bitcoin, you should never spend it, lock it up. It's just it's digital real estate, lock it up. Don't ever spend it. I mean, okay, don't ever spend it until you get to the point where you have to spend it and you can't afford to spend it. Who wins? Only the big players. It's like your people that are gold proponents. Well, none of the little guys own gold. They've got all the gold. They create the gold standard, so they make all the rules. It's kind of the same thing I'm seeing replicated in Bitcoin, and I don't like it. And so I'm not a part of it, and that's one of the big reasons I don't give my energy to Bitcoin, because I don't want to be in that situation to where I can't move it. It costs me too much to move it. And you see that time and time again when the network gets congested, fees go up. Recently it's $25-$30, but I mean, that's not a good solution for, the common people. It just isn't. When you got to pay that much, you got to move $100 and it's going to cost you $25. That doesn't make sense. So that's why I'm a big proponent of Litecoin. That's why I like Litecoin. It's just built in a different way, uses a different algorithm so that the fees are a lot lower. And Litecoin took on all the issues that Bitcoin was having with the ordinals, because that's what, the ordinals being inscribed on the Bitcoin network and the coins, that's what caused the fees to go up. Well, Litecoin absorbed all that, and the fee structure didn't even change. It's still under a penny to send it. So Litecoin can handle it. It's just a better coin for payments, better payment rail, more of a sound money for the digital age than Bitcoin can ever be at this point. And that's being proven out. And, everybody's changing their tune. They're like, oh, no, it's just for a store of value. No, it's not for peer-to-peer electronic currency. No. So the early days of, what that zeitgeist of that was Bitcoin is gone. But I think you find it in other coins like Litecoin, like DigiByte, those coins that are about peer-to-peer electronic currency, true to the Satoshi white paper. And that's fine. I mean, if it becomes a store of value, but just know that don't let them lie to you and say that Bitcoin's the only way and Bitcoin's the only answer, because it's not. It might be the only answer to the elite with a lot of money or a large store of value, but it is not the answer to people like me and, people I interact with when we want to transact value. And if I want to pay for something, I'm not going to do it in Bitcoin. Why would I do that? And so to me, Bitcoin is kind of a useless thing as far as a day-to-day transactional currency. It's just not sound money for the digital age. It might be a sound store of value for the digital age. But what if you get into that point like Saylor talks about, that it costs you, $1 million to transact in Bitcoin, to send one transaction? I mean, if you don't have at least 10 times that, then it is definitely not worth having at that point. And then you might say, well, if I'd love to have that problem. Well, if you can avoid that problem, why not avoid it? When you can use something like Litecoin that can store the value too, and actually use it, and DigiByte and Dogecoin. I don't say much about Dogecoin, but I mean, even Dogecoin, doesn't matter. Those networks work. They're not going to cost you a fortune to send value. So I think that's the point going. What are you doing, Tilly? What are we doing here? That's the point going forward. Just know that a lot of these people really don't have your interests in mind. They just want price to go up. They want to, they've accumulated a lot of Bitcoin. They've got a lot of money, and they're looking at it as a way to, lock other people into it. Because face it, I mean, think about it. If you sell a house and, say you made a good chunk of change on it. Say, I got 25 grand. I'm going to throw into Bitcoin. Boom. And you get one Bitcoin, and then the price goes up. And you're like, yeah, man, I like Bitcoin. That's awesome. The price keeps going up. Well, the fees keep going up too. And pretty soon, what if the fees are, like Saylor talks about $500,000, and one Bitcoin's worth 10 million though. You think, okay, is that worth it? Well, maybe. I guess maybe it is worth it to you. But if you're going to bite off chunks of it, you'd have to do it all at once. You'd have to sell it all at once. You're not going to be able to use, I'm going to take, bust off, 10% of it and sell it. Well, that 10% ends up being the whole fee, and so you get a net zero. So it's not, it's not what they promised that, you could do microtransactions all the way down to the 8th decimal point. And, the argument will be, well, Lightning Network. Well, Lightning Network is a second layer. It is not, it's not written on the blockchain. It's not as secure. It's a third-party thing. And this dog is ready to get out, right, Tilly? All right, so I'm going to wrap this up. But just some things to think about. You might think you've got a lot of value, but if it's illiquid, I use the example of a 100-ounce gold bar. I mean, I'd rather have 100 gold coins at, really more 1,000 gold coins. I'd rather have 10th of an ounce gold coins as opposed to having one 100-ounce gold bar, because trying to move that, trying to sell that is a problem. You can't just shave a piece off and make a transaction. It's not portable. It's not liquid. So I wouldn't want to be in that situation. I would rather have it, broken down into smaller pieces. And I think with other blockchains like Litecoin, DigiByte, Dogecoin, that is more of the analogy of that gold bar broken up, easier to use, easier to move. So the black dog's hot. It's a hot day today. Things to think about. Once again, nothing but a vampire casino. More and more vampires trying to usher you maybe into another room in the casino, not even get you to leave. So let's not make this meet the new boss, same as the old boss situation. Do your research on this stuff. Start thinking it out, thinking it through. What position are you going to be in when you need to use this money? Because you need sound money for the digital age. And you ask yourself, am I buying sound money for the digital age? Something I can actually use? Do your own research. All right. Love you all. Trust yourselves. Hope you have a wonderful Tuesday.